In 2020, when George Floyd was killed, I was affected pretty deeply about it. And part of it was because he was in Minnesota. Like Philando Castile, they were the places where I grew up. And I had not been aware of or experienced incidents of racial violence when I was growing up there. So, as a result of the George Floyd killing, I added a bunch of books to my reading list in 2020. James Baldwin, Ta-Nehisi Coates, these kinds of things. Many of those books didn't last on the TBR list because they felt performative. A lot of those books that you hear about all the time, a lot of those common books that are well known for speaking to race differences felt performative on my TBR list, and I didn't want that. What I wanted was a lived-in experience. I wanted to read about the experience of something that was completely different from me in a way to expose myself to something more real. And so this book remained on my list, even after all those other ones fell off. I read Survival Math, Notes on an All-American Family by Mitchell S. Jackson in 2023. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and then I wrote this about it. Jackson does such interesting things in this book. It really feels like a conversation with himself about his life. The metaphors he applies from section to section illuminate a beautiful poetic approach to the eventful jumble of crises and aspects of his life story. He delivers it both with self-deprecation and pride. It is even-handed and apologetic when appropriate, and it isn't always appropriate. And he really seems to know the difference, in my opinion. I wish we all had that presence of mind. In particular, leaving this book with his concept of revision fresh in my mind as a way to examine self alongside memoir feels like a profound and important lesson for anyone. There is no way for me to truly understand how it feels to be Jackson or any of the people in the survivor files he details throughout the book. But he's told the stories in a unique way so that even outside the experience, readers can live in it for the pages presented. This was the right read for me. I'm thankful for it. It was work in some places, but that doesn't seem to be contrary to its purpose. Survival Math is a story about growing up in Portland, actually, and the environment in urban Portland, and really the focus on the Black community here in Portland. Thinking to my intro, talking about those terrible killings that happened in Minnesota, it was important for me to read this story of Portland, where I live now, as opposed to where I grew up. Now, there's criticism of this book in that Jackson lived a life as a hustler, and he talks about the hustle in a very first-person way. Some of the criticism talks about his apologies being empty, and that the book itself is a hustle to garner empathy. I don't know how you can judge an atonement, an amends, an apology from someone who self-deprecatingly calls themselves a hustler. This is his story, and he did sell this book. It does feel like a confession at times, but I think more than anything, where I talk about this concept of examining self alongside memoir, I feel like this is a great way to talk about everything that's happened to you. It definitely gave me what I was looking for, in that I was trying to educate myself on the Black experience close to home. There's much about Portland here, and much about the difficulties of being Black in Portland. I put it in the context of George Floyd because I felt ignorant in the face of racial police brutality. This book feels very real. So even to those people who criticize it for being a hustle, it feels very much a story, a memoir, a window into an experience that is important for people to learn about. So I recommend this. I also believe I need to do that other reading as well. I need to read James Baldwin. I need to continue to educate myself, and I will keep trying. But reading this was a response for me to step away from ignorance and learn more about an experience that wasn't like mine. I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars because of that, those parts where it felt like work, but it is a very good book, very much an experience of life in urban Portland. It's called Survival Math, Notes on an All-American Family by Mitchell S. Jackson. I read it in 2023, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Till next.